Morning Coffee. I am Jim Cuccinata from Halo Health. I am here for our weekly health segment. Today I have Kip Patterson, who is the head athletic trainer at Shawnee High School in Medford, New Jersey. Kip is also their head strength and conditioning coach. We're very excited to have him here today because athletic training and strength and conditioning are two things that every parent should know about, whether your child is just starting in T-ball or getting ready to go in the pros. So welcome, Kip. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jim, for having me here.
So we were talking a little bit about kind of what an athletic trainer does and kind of why we should care off set. So could you explain to me what an athletic trainer is?
Okay. Athletic trainer is a healthcare professional who basically works with athletes. Since the beginning, they've kind of evolved into different aspects, either in industries or working in such, dance arts, or there's trainers working even in the military, as they find some of the military people are athletes, basically carrying on and doing their job. So the profession has evolved, but primarily where we started was working with athletes either on the high school, collegiate, or professional level.
Okay, and what kind of training or certifications do you need to have to be an athletic trainer?
Once again, this has also evolved over the years. Myself, as I went through an internship program at Rowan, which is now Rowan University.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to get in on that, where basically they had the criteria to be to have the education basis, but they had to do the internship program because they only had one athletic trainer at the time.
Okay.
Phenomenal guy there, Chuck Whedon, who instructed us, and basically kind of gave me the best of both worlds, because
Sure.
I had the classwork needed, but I also had the hours that you had to. So at that point, it was about 1,500 hours underneath the certified athletic trainer. So that way, you had the knowledge, but you're able to get hands-on,
Sure.
and do a lot of work. So.
Are you is the program, was it focused more on kind of how the body works, how the body heals? Physical therapies to get you back on your feet.
All the
Obviously,
above.
your job is to get you back on the field, kind of.
All the above. I think it's the art, science, physics kind of blended together with caring,
Right.
taking care of people, listening. I always say we basically do 98% mental, 2% actual body healing. So with interacting with the athletes on a personal level.
Excellent. And then strength and conditioning, same type of thing, certification program. Is it a long course load? Is it how do you become a certified?
Fortunately, once again, a lot of the coursework overlapped, so I was able to get the strength and conditioning. Back in high school, my biology teacher, I happened to know a lot of the muscles, and said, I'm going to be a kinesiologist someday.
Okay.
And I said, don't ever call me that again. So kind of teasing with her. So here I am years later, and so the certification, I'm certified through the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist through the NSCA, and that is a well-recognized group, and they basically have the coursework, sit for the exam,
Right.
and for the certification. So it's a little more involved than just a weekend program.
Sure.
So.
And then for people our age, right, you think of an athletic trainer, you think of the person that basically was a terrible person to see, right? Because back when we played sports, they were the one that told you couldn't go on the field.
And that's the misconception a lot of the kids have.
Right.
They're coming up from, we see a lot of kids that are playing ball through their early childhood, and they don't know what we are.
Right.
And so maybe the misconception of mom and dad,
Right.
because they're old school, is, oh, they're going to keep you from playing. But that is absolute opposite. We're the person, I always tell them, I'm the person that's trying to get you back on that field,
Right.
healthy, safely, as soon as possible, that once again, you're fulfilling those
Sure.
obligations.
What's kind of the day in the life? If we were, let's say, I would imagine the fall is one of the busiest seasons. So if we were
Absolutely.
in the middle of a fall season, what would a day look like for you?
Okay, basically I'm coming in, we have a little bit, we're kind of a later start schedule because of the nature of the beast. We'll come in, we'll do, we open for rehab, paperwork. Unfortunately, in this world, we have
Right.
way too much paperwork. So we're getting that done, but we're doing some rehab during the day, working with the kids, and then after school, getting them taped, doing more rehab, just kind of touching base with coaches and such. So after school, if you come to my room, it's chaos.
Right.
But it's organized chaos. I think the thing that prepared me most was working at Friendly's since my first job.
Okay.
And doing 15 things at the same time.
Right. So if you could be a waiter, you could be an
cook.
athletic
Yeah,
trainer.
exactly.
Okay.
So and then after that, we're going to head out for practices. Where at any point out there, we could have 7 sports going on of the 3 various levels: freshman, JV, varsity.
Right.
And on game days, we'll have double that because you're
Sure.
then responsible for the away team to take care of those.
Okay. And is it something where is there a requirement that there has to be a trainer at every field, or you have?
Fortunately, for my situation, our fields are all gathered together.
Okay.
There are some situations out there where people have satellite fields,
Right.
and they may have, not able to cover everything.
Sure.
On their own. I have, once again, I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have an assistant, which I always say that she's the reason I still have hair.
Right.
Because otherwise I'd be pulling it out. It's crazy enough as it is. When I first started, I was the only one, and it was a little crazy.
Yeah, it was very crazy. Sure.
So to have 2 is phenomenal, but I know there's a lot of people out there that are not as fortunate.
Right.
And, the athletic training is like fishing for blues.
Yeah.
You could be all day long, nice and boring, but, all of a sudden that school fish hit, and,
Yeah.
and you have 2 people collide, and there you go.
You've got 2
different-
issues, right?
2 unconscious people.
Yep.
Bad scenario.
Absolutely. And then obviously if it's during a game, you've got 2 sets
Other
of
things,
coaches
yeah.
and parents to worry about.
Yep. Yep.
One of the things we were talking about with Kip Patterson was being a liaison between the doctor or the insurance company and the school to get the kid ready to play. You come out with a concussion or you just got a cast off and you immediately feel like, hey, I'm ready to play. But that's not really the case.
Right. We're seeing that a lot of times the insurance companies, as we're seeing a lot in healthcare, are kind of controlling the industry and dictating what the person, when they're ready to go back,
Right.
or something like that. So in my situation, we have the parents, they'll pick who they want to go see. Obviously, we have some doctors that we work with along the way that I know, and I know what their philosophy is, and,
Right.
that works great, and we may steer a person in that direction. But basically, we're seeing kids that sometimes the doctor is pulling them out of a boot,
Right.
and then they expect to be back on the field. So it's key that we're in communication with those doctors,
Yep.
in communication with parent, explaining to the athlete who's an underage child
Sure.
that you can't go back out in the field until you are passed tests and you have proven yourself to be fit enough to be back on
Back on the field. Excellent. We're going to take a quick commercial break here on Morning Coffee. When we come back, we're going to talk with Kip Patterson. We're going to talk about some of the big issues in athletic training, including, we'll say, concussion management and maybe off-season or counter-seasonal sports training so that your kids can stay healthy. We'll be right back.
Saving your business money is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Tanker Consulting Services, a payment solutions expert, will show you how with a free, detailed, written analysis illustrating your cost savings. We usually uncover savings between 10 and 25%, and sometimes more. We can help your business succeed by providing reliable and secure merchant payment solutions such as merchant services programs, point-of-sale systems, and ATM machines. TCS, one of the leaders in regional credit card processing consulting, offers electronic payments to merchants locally and nationwide through our preferred vendor programs. We work to keep business costs down with a comprehensive suite of quality products, services, and customized credit card processing programs exclusively tailored for your company. TCS is convenient, reliable, and innovative, with customer service available 24/7, 365 days a year. Our in-depth industry knowledge, partnership strategy, and innovative processing solutions allow for a specialized approach to providing merchant bank processing with 100% full fee disclosure. TCS is one-stop shopping for all your merchant services solutions. Our clients save money 100% of the time. Trust Tanker Consulting Services, the knowledgeable, professional, and friendly provider of secure payment services. We set the standard by which others are measured. Call now for a free written analysis. 609-922-0201.
Welcome back to Morning Coffee. I'm Jim Cucinato. I'm here with Kip Patterson today. He is the head athletic trainer at Shawnee High School in Medford, New Jersey. He is also their head strength and conditioning coach. We're going to talk a little bit about athletic training now and how it's evolved from back in the day. We were talking about how, let's say in the 80s, the athletic trainer was kind of the gatekeeper to let you play, right? While you're still the person that is the final authority, kind of your role has changed over those years, I'm sure.
I think like I said, the profession has evolved, that I still tell people, yeah, we are the gatekeeper. And I have an obligation to Shawnee High School or to Lenape Regional High School District to be that gatekeeper, to try to do my best to make sure that you've met at least the minimum satisfaction that you're ready to go back on that field. And that way I can kind of stamp you, because even when all the hoops are lined up, it's not a perfect world. And like I said, we do functional tests and in a controlled environment, because once I release you back into the wild, it's an uncontrolled environment. So we try to make sure we line up all of our ducks.
Right. Now, does every player, when they're a freshman, come to Shawnee have some type of, say, baseline of coordination tested, flexibility and things like that? Is that something that you guys look
not
at?
across the board. So a lot of times once again, I'm fortunate. A lot of our coaches get involved with doing preseason training. So that definitely helps, and hopefully these kids actually do show up. It's difficult in the summer because everyone's on vacation and whatnot.
Sure.
So to hope for a baseline is just not happening.
Sure.
So a lot of these kids play the sport to get in shape, and not get in shape to play the sport.
Right.
And that is where, unfortunately, they end up in my room in limbo, because they're just you got your quad pulls, your hip flexor pulls, and that can happen even the best of preparation, but usually that is not the case.
Sure. Yeah. Right. The first day of soccer practice is the first day that kids saw soccer ball all summer.
Yep.
It's usually not a recipe for success.
Right. Correct.
Do you see a lot of repetitive motion injuries from the kids? The baseball specialists, the basketball specialists.
What do you mean by that?
Baseball players
Throwing it
always
over and
have
over.
a sore elbow or the shoulder. Basketball player, same type of thing.
With baseball, we find, especially on the lower levels, freshman level, you're going to have an athlete who we're keeping a pitch count.
Right.
We're making sure we meet into the proper amount of games off.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're also on Team A, B, and C.
Sure.
And trying to make sure all those pegs fall in line. So that's a problem, where you're going to see a pitcher or even a kid that's playing outfield for you is pitching on another
somebody
team.
else. Right. And when we were kids, right, you played whatever the season was. So if it was cold out, you played football or soccer. You played hockey. You played basketball. Whatever. I know that in new sports, the coaches are telling the kids at 9 years old, well, if you want to be a great soccer player, you need to give up all other sports. Is that something that you see causes a lot of injuries, causes a lot of kids to quit the sport?
I find, I do have a burr in my saddle with a lot of these club coaches that are selling these kids dreams that, I'm the only way to get to a D1. There's so much white noise out there as far as, with some of these sports. There's so many kids involved that, you got to really stand out.
Right.
So I find the best athletes are the ones that are playing multiple sports.
Yep.
That there's some kids that I've told over the years that if we made up a sport this morning, by the afternoon you'd probably be the best at it.
Right.
And those are the kids that I have had some of the best athletes, and then you let's say a soccer player, for example, and then I had them try to do an upper body, and they are absolutely uncoordinated. So it's almost a crime to a kid to not allow them, or not to develop them to be an athlete. Not necessarily a soccer player or basketball player or fill in the blank.
Exactly.
Let them be an athlete.
Sure. And you'll be found. Right? Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where if you are really fast and you're really coordinated and you're only okay at that sport, that's okay, because if you've got
Can be
the other
developed.
things going, right?
Right.
The coach could teach you a skill. They
Yep.
can't teach you to be fast. They
Right.
can't teach you to jump high.
Right.
That's awesome. And the strength and conditioning part of your job probably is also very important in developing athletes in that way.
Absolutely. Well, the balance between the two roles that I have in my profession, and I have a kid come in, excuse me, that hurt their knee,
Mhm.
and then you have them do some balance exercises, and holy cow, you see weakness,
Right.
All the way up, and you
Through.
see that chain, and not that absolutely caused the problem, but that is a player in the problem, because it exposes them to make poor decisions, especially late in the game,
Right.
when they're tired and exhausted. So their technique decreases, and it opens them up to an injury. So what we do is try to work on core strength,
Right.
and balance, and that kind of thing. It just helps them to be a better athlete.
If I had an 8-year-old young athlete now, and I wanted to get them into basic core training and kind of working on their reflexes and things like that, what would you recommend I would do?
Well, I would recommend getting a hold of somebody that knows what they're doing.
Right.
Credentials are great, but I would sit down and talk to that person, because you're dealing with an 8-year-old child.
Sure.
You want them to teach them the foundation of movement, the foundation of strength. So they're not necessarily lifting heavy weights and doing all that.
Right.
There's a lot you can do without even hardly touching a weight.
Right.
Just teaching the child
Yeah.
to be aware of their body. We find a lot of kids that, as their maturity comes up, you see a kid coming in from middle school to high school, and all of a sudden they go through this growth spurt,
Right.
and they don't know how to control their body. And you see it out in the field, and it's almost a wreck waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
And you're sitting there holding your breath. So being able to control your body, being able to be aware of your space,
Right.
and how your body's turning, and that could help you avoid an injury.
Right. So doing simple, basic exercises, working with a trainer right away. The earlier you work with the trainer, the better it is for your kid as an athlete.
Correct. Yeah, but really
From a
get
safety standpoint.
get to know the person.
Right.
You don't want a yahoo that's going to hurt your child.
Absolutely.
As my instructor would always say, don't cause a problem, try to solve a problem.
Great. Good. Well, I'm here with Kip Patterson from Shawnee High School. He is the head athletic trainer. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about concussions and baseline testing and all the type of things that you need to know as a parent to make sure your child's safe.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
Say
Welcome back to Morning Coffee. I'm Jim Cucinato. I'm here today with Kip Patterson. Kip is the head athletic trainer and strength and conditioning coach over at Shawnee High School in Medford, New Jersey. We were talking about keeping your kids safe while they were being trained. You need to find a trainer who knows what they're doing. One of the big things in youth sports today are concussions.
Concussions are the hot topic.
Yes.
And I think over the last 5 to 7 years now, it has really become the prominent focal point, obviously in sport. But I think the research that has done, and I've heard neurologists say, the more we learn about the brain, the less we know.
Right.
So
One of the things that I'm involved in youth sports. Truth be told, I am the president of Marlton Rec Council, so I know a lot about youth sports. And one of the programs we're initiating is that every child who is 10 years or older needs to go through a baseline impact test.
okay.
Right.
Impact was developed, people out in Pittsburgh, which kind of the hub of the concussion authority. Fortunately, we've been fortunate enough. Dr. Rob Franks, who works with Rothman, I have his number, and I'm calling it up almost, unfortunately, too often, where he was trained out there, but he has educated us so much as far as what to look for as far as a head injury, because a lot of times you get the athlete that says, I'm fine, you just saw him take a hit, I'm fine. Nothing, they all seem to check out, balance is good, all that, headache, no,
Right.
not necessarily, and all that kind of stuff. And it's difficult when I have an away athlete. How do I know? So he's given us some tips on looking at the eyes and different, because the eyes are connected to every part of the brain.
Sure.
And there's different exams we can do to kind of really, that spider tingly senses you get,
Yeah.
of knowing something's not right. Because we find kids 2 hours, 4 hours later, all of a sudden have that rush of the symptoms kind of.
Sure, and it can be very delayed, right? It could be a day later or 2 days later as well.
Absolutely.
So do you have to document every hit?
Not every hit, but we'll, especially if we're there or if coach calls us over, if it's an event that's not necessarily where we're actually sitting at, and we'll kind of go through the gamut. And if we are uncomfortable, we will pull them from the activity,
Right.
and then advise mom and dad, keep an eye on them, and if there's anything, if there's any small note, they need to see the doc. So
Sure.
if we have any doubts, so that's in place. You were speaking of impact.
Right.
Impact was a test developed, computerized test, which once again we look at it as a tool in the box. And basically the kids sit down, they take this exam, which once again cognitively tests different parts
Right.
of the brain and how your thinking process and reacting and the reaction speed. So all that is noted in a normal sense. Of course,
Right.
we know kids that's subject to interpretation.
Yes.
So they have the baseline. So then if something does happen, that way they go back and take the test, and then sometimes they present symptom-free, they're doing well,
Right.
but something just isn't right. And that, once again, is another tool in the box to
Check
to
on
check
that.
off. Yeah.
And it's a state requirement, correct, that every athlete has to be?
I believe it's becoming that.
Yeah.
So I know on the high school level we do it.
Right.
So.
Excellent. We've had a lot of fun. We have a tradition here on Morning Coffee where you're going to look into that camera. You're going to tell everybody what you are, who you are, and why they should care.
Okay. My name is Kip Patterson. I'm a certified athletic trainer and certified strength and conditioning specialist. And I'm an athletic trainer, and what I do is I take care of people. I meet their physical needs and emotional needs. And I love my job because I get to help people and affect them for life.
Excellent. Well, I'm Jim Cuccinata. I was here with Kip Patterson. We had a great time on Morning Coffee, and I believe Mark will be right back after these messages.